What is going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Happy Victory Monday here on the Phaithful Phanatics show. We are live, as always, on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube and Twitter channels. Guys, do yourself a favor. Do us a favor, as always. Make sure to smash that follow button on all social media platforms and make sure to check out the YouTube link specifically. It's in the bio, in our link tree, on our X account. So click that, smash the subscribe button, like the video, share it to whoever you got to share with. Let's continue to get this train moving to our first 200 subscribers. Get your comments in, like TR, like Darius. I'm one half of your host, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The Eagles dominate, smoke, rout, slay the New York Football Giants 28-3 yesterday afternoon. We're going to break down this game and go through everything in a positive direction. I'm sure there will be some negatives we could talk about, Scotty, but all in all, it was the best Eagles performance, the cleanest Eagles performance, the 60-minute type of Eagles performance that we have been looking for. So we're starting to get back on track. Hopefully, I know it's the Giants, I know it's the Browns, but like you have been saying all week, man, this schedule kind of remains the same. You talk about a Ravens team down the road, the Bengals, we don't really know what to make of them. So, starting to get this thing back on track. The Sixers open up the regular season on Wednesday. Preseason, thank God, is officially over. We don't have to worry about any more injuries before the season actually begins. So we'll talk a little bit about our season predictions before Wednesday. But yeah, man, good to be back. Happy Victory Monday. What's going on?
Yeah, man. Happy Victory Monday. As you said, this was definitely the least stressful Eagles game I've had to watch in, quite honestly, the last year. It has been super stressful to be an Eagles fan. Coming into that game, I mean, I'll take the W, obviously, 28-3. Yeah, they didn't get a touchdown on the board. Didn't get in the end zone. The offense looked great outside of the first quarter, as Darius mentioned.
Darius with a great point. Maybe not a 60-minute performance from the Birds, 45-minute performance all around.
Yeah, they took the first quarter off again.
Yeah.
I am happy with this win, though, man. I'm not gonna, take it too lightly. I'm not gonna take it too far either. I'm not gonna overreact and say the Eagles are, a legitimate contender in the NFC again. It's not like that. It's just step by step. It looks a lot better than it did last week. And that's what we're asking for week to week, is for this team to just keep improving and start looking closer and closer to what the team we thought they would be coming into the season, at least from an offensive perspective. And to that point, man, the offense did get rolling in the second quarter and on. Obviously, Saquon had a huge day. We were running the football, even without Saquon. Like, I know he had 176 yards.
Yeah,
Hurts was doing good. Gainwell ran the ball well as well. So, all around, the offense got it rolling. You had the big play to AJ. Smitty wasn't really involved, but you didn't need Hurts to throw too much yesterday with what was going on. So overall, you look at that New York Giants defense, man, coming into the game. I told you, I believe on Friday it was, they are technically, or were technically, a top 10 defense by the numbers overall.
Sure.
So it's the Giants. They were 2-4 going into that game. Like, take it with a grain of salt, of course, but they do have a pretty solid defensive unit. Like, that's Dexter Lawrence on that defensive line. He's a stud. So it is something to be happy about and to continue to build on. But let's get into, the details, the intricacies of the game, of course. But just overall standpoint, great Victory Monday here. And exactly what we asked for, quite honestly. Outside of the first quarter, I guess that's going to be the exception today.
There are two things I'm going to point to in somewhat of a negative light, and I'll throw them out here first just to get them out of the way, because this game is 98% positive and getting things back on track. Okay. The two things are the slow start. The first quarter, it just 0-0 again. We still do not have a singular solo point in the first quarter of any of our first 6 games. We're the only team in the league without a first quarter point this in 2024. So it just makes you wonder, if you're not playing the Giants, is it 0-0? You know what I mean? Like, the defense looked great. Obviously, they didn't give up a touchdown. But if you were playing someone else, if you continue to get off to these slow starts offensively, if you're playing the Lions, if you're playing the Packers again, if you're playing someone else, is
You're
it a
playing the
0-0
Bengals.
ball game? Are you being bailed out by your defense still? So that's
You're
the
playing
only
Joe
thing.
Burrow and the Bengals next week. Like, you're
Correct.
gonna have to score some points. Yeah.
Yes, correct. The other thing is, while it is the main positive we're going to get to, you ran the ball 45 times, you only threw it 15 times. That ratio is crazy. That is a positive of the game. The only somewhat negative spin I can throw on it is why? Because it was Saquon. Like, why can't we just do this consistently? Not 45-15. It was a big lead by the end of the game. We continued to run the ball. That's why those numbers are skewed so much. Obviously, Kenny Pickett comes in the fourth quarter for Jalen. He only throws one total pass. So the lead had things to do with it. But, like, do you see what I'm talking about? Like, we know Sirianni loves a good pandering session. And we knew Saquon was going to be somewhat unleashed today, 17 carries, 2 receptions. But, like, why? Like, I'm being serious, guys. I better see this next week.
I feel that.
Not the same, not 45 carries,
I do feel
but I better see a steady dose of the run game, because all year long, especially throughout all these injuries, people continue to ask, what is the Eagles' identity? And a lot of the times you hear they don't have one, and that's the problem. This is your identity. Feed 26, run the football behind that offensive line. Even when it's beat up, it's still a top 5 unit in the league. And get the ball to number. That's it. It's a very simple game plan. It's a very simple identity. But it shouldn't just be like, if they come out in Cincinnati next week and Jalen throws the ball 37 times and Saquon only rushes it 14 times, then we're right back to where we started. Because what you did it because of they were playing the Giants and it was Unleash Saquon Day. Like, so continue to build off of that. That's the only negatives that I will throw out there. This was the best performance all around team performance of the season. Jalen Hurts with back-to-back turnover-less days, which is huge. The big plays to A.J. Brown, and I'll throw this to you, man. We obviously know the story around Saquon Barkley. Fucking guy's a freak. Been a freak all year. But I don't agree with ESP too often, but he had a tweet this morning that I want to just share out there. The Eagles, when they have A.J. Brown this year, 3-0, averaging 27 points a game. The Eagles, when they don't have A.J. Brown, 1-2, averaging 17 points per game. Wide receivers don't win MVPs, but A.J. Brown certainly belongs on a list of the most valuable players in the league, especially, obviously, to his team being the Eagles. I think it's so when we go back and try to figure out what this team is, man, it's like, well, when they're not healthy, they've lost. When they've had AJ been healthy, they're winning. So I don't know. I truly don't know.
I mean, that's what I was going to say when you were, talking about, just Saquon and like the game plan with AJ. And it's like, we just got AJ back last week. So, they haven't had that opportunity to kind of, simplify the game plan in a sense to that directive. But I do agree. I think it's one of those games where you do find your identity, and I think it like slaps them in the face when it comes out blatantly the way it did against the Giants, and you're able to run the ball down their throats. So I do think moving forward, especially, man, you're spot on. Like, it needs to be the way we roll. That is our identity, is to pound the ball down their throats, and that's what it's going to have to be once it gets cold out, anyways, man. So that's why I never. Like, we're an outdoor team. Like, we don't play in a dome at home. We play out in the wilderness. So I think it is important to hone in on that identity. You have a mobile quarterback who he's starting to look a little bit more normal running the football, quite honestly, compared to the beginning of the season himself. And that's Jalen Hurts I'm talking about. So I think just moving forward, this is why, like, I guess the way I'm looking at it, Dylan, why can't it be a little bit lesser version of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry? Like Saquon, I don't know. Saquon and Derrick Henry, which one is better right now? I really don't know. Derrick Henry's obviously just a different animal, but Saquon is too, man.
Yeah.
But I know Jalen Hurts doesn't have the ability like Lamar.
He doesn't have the burst that Lamar Jackson has.
But he is a better passer than Lamar. Am I okay to say that? I don't know. he's maybe a step below Lamar
Yeah,
regardless
I,
as
I
a
think
player.
heading into this year, I would have said yes. I think some of the things I've seen this year, I'd say no. It's just the consistency factor. You
And
you
it's the
watch the
game
ball,
planning because
you
look at the Ravens' game plan
right,
because
right.
let's get Lamar in a rhythm. These short
Right.
throws to Zay
Right.
Flowers,
But it,
tight
so it's
end.
like you
So
watch the drop of
it's
the
hard to
bucket
say.
to AJ on 4th and 3. You can't throw a better football than that.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's just a consistency
yeah.
thing for me with Jalen throwing the football. It's like
Because they're
you see the highlight throws. It's there. It's
yeah.
just doing it consistently week to week.
I saw It's funny you brought up ESP this morning, and I'm going to bring him up again because he had another great point. I thought because I saw these two plays in real time as well, and I thought, And it was the one play. It was on third down. It might have been in the first half. Smitty was running across the field wide open.
It's the play before he throws the
Jalen
touchdown.
Hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yup, you're exactly right. It is right before the 4th and 3 tutty. And Jalen Hurts, looks him off or looks somewhere else and doesn't get the ball out. And then there was the play to Saquon in
Yeah.
like the 10-yard line. He could have thrown it over to Saquon. Saquon would have walked in the end zone from the look of it.
Yeah.
But ESP did point out, going back to the all 22 footage, you start to see where some of these defensive players are. And this is maybe just Jalen Hurts taking better care of the ball in these cases, not putting it in risk, right? As he was doing the first couple of weeks of the season and the latter half of last season. So maybe that it has to have been a focus, right? Like to not turn the ball over, like for you to do it, for you to have a clean game like that 2 weeks in a row. I know it feels like that's what it should be, but it wasn't like this for a long time. We have been turning the ball over consistently since, like you said, like since the Bills game last year, we have not had like a clean football game. And now we've had 2 back-to-back clean football clean field goal block against Cleveland, I know. But clean to a sense of the offense, not turning the ball over. So Nick Sirianni, what are our thoughts on him coming out of this game? Like you can't overreact. You can't overreact, but I do like some of the stuff he has said. Maybe not the way he says it, obviously. He's not like the greatest speaker by any means, but just seeing the way he interacts with Saquon, right? Seeing the way he interacts with players, man. It's such a confusing team. That's what I'm talking about right now. Just like you said earlier.
I think Nick Sirianni is genuinely I think Nick's a good dude. I think I think most players probably like him and get along with him and like some of his personality. There's just this side of Nick Sirianni where he can't get out of his own way. It seemed like he took a step back yesterday. I want to go back to a few plays and things that were posted throughout the practice week. There were clips being posted of Jalen Hurts lining up under center. And someone had posted it and said, week by week, Kellen Moore is kicking Sirianni out of the offense because that's designed by Kellen Moore.
Yeah.
And then you see how many times they ran the ball from under center yesterday. I'll take it a step further. I know Mark Sanchez pointed it out finally, but they did it about 4 plays in a row. They took a linebacker and put him as a fullback.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Ran the ball about 4 plays in a row, almost the same identical play, and gashed the New York Giants.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that's Nick Sirianni. There's no way you could tell me that was designed and called by Nick Sirianni. So it just felt like looking at some of those scenarios and the way they ran the ball and how they ran the ball from under center, it felt like maybe Kellen had a little bit more control this week after the backlash all week. And that's all I need, man. I told you this last week. Just stay. You asked me if my opinion on Nick can change by the end of the year if they go on this run. Yeah, it's very simple. Get out of your own way. Take a step back. Just be that leader, whatever you need to be. Manage a game successfully and let Kellen and Vic do something. I'll say this, man. I know it's the Browns and the Giants. It's incredibly hard to get, completely bought back into this team.
Yeah.
But Vic Fangio has something with this defense. Something. Maybe it's just going to turn out to be Deshaun Watson and Daniel Jones. Maybe that's it. But they are getting a ton more pressure. And I know these 2 offensive lines are beat up and they give up the most sacks. I know. But there's Bryce Huff, hand in the ground, getting after the quarterback, bringing in Nakobe Dean on late blitzes, and he's smoking Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Just doing some creative things. I'm seeing Quinyon Mitchell get the same amount of snaps on Malik Neighbors as Darius Slay and holds his own. Cooper DeJean obviously getting the start. Sidney Brown coming back from injury. If Vic Fangio has found something with this defense, and this isn't just some fluke against bad teams, and this offense can stay healthy, and when I mean stay healthy, I mean Saquon, AJ, Smitty, and the offensive line.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jalen, duh. I think there's something here with this team, especially when you look around the NFC, man. I'm not talking about the Lions. I put the Lions as the best team in this conference by far right now. Everybody else, who are you gonna sell me on? Really? I mean, the Vikings obviously played the Lions close. You can hold them up in them standards. But like I said, I say this every week to
Sam Darnold?
I'm going to come December. Is Sam Darnold still playing this brand of football? I don't know. The Packers, they look good. They came back, beat the Texans. Maybe, all right, it's week 1. It's not the same. We beat the Packers already. Yeah. We scored 34 points against the Packers defense already. The Niners, no. The Cowboys, no. So it's like, if this thing can get meshed together and both sides of the ball can come together. Yeah.
No, I agree, man.
But I want to know, and I'm not saying they're not questionable, but what over the last 2 weeks has made them questionable? I'm not saying anything prior to that, and take away from last year, etc. I don't think there's nothing they've done the last 2 weeks that have made them question. I don't even think the Giants got the ball past midfield.
So I watched the game with HP yesterday, and it's funny because what we were looking at when we were watching the game, and what I noticed,
he hates it. He hates the scheme.
Yeah, it's the scheme, and it's the Nolan Smith on a slot receiver, or Brandon Graham guarding Malik Neighbors.
I get it.
It's that type of stuff that is annoying. But I do agree. I think the defense, that front seven, right? That's what we're talking about, because the secondary has been solid for the most of the season, I would say. Outside of Avante Maddox.
Let's call it what it is. The 3 weakest spots of the secondary have been the veteran players this year. CJJ, Darius Slay, and Avante Maddox are the three worst players in the secondary this year.
Yeah, so you look at the front seven specifically coming into right. Like Nolan Smith has 2 sacks in this game. Bryce Huff gets on the board yesterday. Like Jalen Carter has 2 sacks in this game. Nakobe Dean has 2 sacks. So you have a bunch of these Bulldogs. They're finally showing some life out of these draft picks of the last couple of years, right? And you're seeing it all kind of mesh together, and that's exactly what we asked for on Friday, man. Was for both sides to show up. Yep. And I think we're in this it's not perfect, sounds weird, but we're in this perfect segue of, you just got 2 warm-up games, and now you get the Bengals, who obviously they're not a great football team. They're not a good football team. They're not the Bengals of the last few years that have contended in the AFC, but they are the Bengals with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. And I do think when you look at matchups like that for the Eagles, the Bengals are going to come into that game trying to prove that they are still a good football team by beating the Eagles, right? So they're going to have a lot of motivation to take care of us at home in Cincy. So what I'm trying to say, we have this perfect window to keep building up and showing the caliber of team we have. Because after the Bengals, what is it? Is it the Commanders?
Or it's the Jags, right?
You're right. It is the Jags.
Then the Commanders, I believe.
So I guess that's a step now. But you see what I'm saying, man. I want to see them keep building week to week.
It might be. Is it a Kelly Green game against the Jags? Because it's Sunday night football?
Yeah. It's got to be. It's got to be for Sunday night football. I figured because Doug may be coming back to it's just a cool game. But it's the Bengals Jags. Actually, the Bengals Jags Cowboys. So we go to Dallas before we come back to Philly and take on the Commanders.
All right.
So, nonetheless, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, though. It's just exactly what we've been talking about.
I think to your point, they got an ugly win last week, and we weren't happy with it. Mm-hmm. Rightfully so. I would assume 99.5% of the fan base wasn't happy with the Browns win.
Yeah.
We asked them to show me X, Y, and Z. Can you look like this? I don't care if it's the Giants or not. They go on the road, a division rival. They're beat. They're missing Jordan Mailata. They're missing Dallas Goedert. And they take care of
goes down in this game too.
Who?
Mekhi Becton.
Yeah. So
Tyler Steen had to come in.
first domino has dropped. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's just about doing it consistently,
Yeah.
continuing to take care of the ball for multiple week stretches. Nick Sirianni to stay out of his way. This defense to look the same as it did this week. If this defense goes out and looks like it did the last 2 weeks against that Bengals offense, that is disappointing right now, but still has all the names in the world like you were talking about. That's going to make me a believer. I'm really confused at how I feel about this team because we keep talking about, and it's true. We keep talking about we're a Saquon Barkley drop away from being 5-1.
Yeah.
That's the same. That would be the same record as the Lions and as the Vikings and as all these teams, right? But I gotta ask, man, like, are we even being true? Like, I don't know that we've ever been this critical of a 4-2 football team. They're 4-2. Like, and again, I know the opponents. I know, like, trust me, I'm the person that I'm not all the way back, but like, it's like I can't remember a time, no matter how ugly the opponents, etc., we have sat back and like critiqued and criticized a 4-2 team before, ever.
Yeah. Yeah. It's when you come away from a season like last year, which was just like an extreme ass outlier, man.
That's what it has to be, though. That like the end of last, that it has to be the
that's what it is.
The final 7-8 weeks of last year, and then seeing some of the same issues this year. And again, doesn't help when your head coach is feeding into it and listening to all the noise.
Yeah.
But it's just, the criticism. I come on here every week and I've criticized this team. It's right. It hasn't been pretty. I go back, and if you start to just look at the numbers, they're undefeated when they're basically fully healthy, scoring 27 points a game.
Yeah.
You know what I like? The tweet was about AJ Brown, but think about it. The games AJ Brown has played, so has Devontae Smith, so has Lane Johnson. They all missed time together. So basically, when they're nearly fully healthy, they are undefeated, averaging 27 points a game. When they're not, they're getting beat up and they're not moving the ball and scoring points. So I just I don't know. Like, is this team? We'll see. I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We'll see. Continue to do it consistently.
Exactly, man. That's exactly where we're at. But I do agree, man. I think we're kind of being hard. It is just confusing. Like I said, like from that Cleveland win, you win the game, but did you feel like you deserved the win?
Right.
But once again, you showed us what you can do in this game. So now if we get to Cincinnati next weekend and you look like a completely different football team, we're going to be right.
So here's the thing, right? Here's some of the ways you can lose the fan base in 6 days. Okay, I'm going to lay it out. I'm going to take what you did this week, and I'm going to tell you it cannot disappear. You cannot show up in Cincinnati. I'm not talking about one turnover. Look at the list of quarterbacks that are turning the football over more than Jalen Hurts this year. It's over half the league, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not excusing his play, but a lot of the league is turning the ball over. They're undefeated. Look at what Patrick Mahomes is doing with the football, right? Winning cures all, Scotty. So you got to protect the football consistently. If Jalen comes out in Cincinnati and has a fumble and 2 interceptions, we're taking a step back.
Yeah.
If the offense comes out and Kellen Moore / Nick Sirianni go back away from the run, and Saquon Barkley only touches the ball 16 total times, and Jalen Hurts is dropping back 30 plus, 35 plus times, we're taking a step back. If the defense comes out and that pass rush that looks so dominant this week against a beat-up offensive line, if they completely disappear, we're taking a step back. All the things you did at an elite level this week, they have to remain somewhat intact. Are you going to go get 8 sacks again? No. But you can't get bullied at the line of scrimmage next week.
Yeah.
You can't turn around and only have 1 sack against Joe Burrow next week. You can't turn around and go away from what your identity should be, and that is running the football and getting A.J. Brown and Saquon Barkley the ball. You cannot turn around and play a messy, sloppy game if you're Jalen Hurts. If any of those things happen, we are taking a step back. But you go on the road for a 3rd straight game now. You protect the ball. You continue to establish that identity. The defense plays well. Now it's like, okay, maybe this is the team I was envisioning. And I know it's a 2-win Bengals team. I get it. And then it's a Jags team. I get it. And then it's a
Yeah.
Cowboys team that isn't playing well. I can't but the schedule isn't getting tough, guys.
It is
There's
what it
no
is.
mark that we really can look at and go, oh, this is where we'll find out who the Eagles really are. No. The Ravens, the Commanders twice, but they're overachieved. Like, right? You know what I mean? It's like
Got the
there's no
Steelers.
stretch like last year or 2 years ago where you can look at and go, oh man, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the Niners are coming up. We'll find out what this team is at its core. It's not happening. So all we can judge is playing this level of competition.
Yeah.
So just go do it consistently.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I was just looking at this comment here. The Chiefs are just a little different than what we thought the Eagles were going to be coming into the season, though. Like, the Chiefs have maybe the best defense in the NFL, quite honestly. I mean, they have a really, really good defense on the other side of Patrick Mahomes. Whereas the Eagles were coming in, we knew they were going to have to score points this year. There's going to be games where the defense isn't going to look like, a top tier defense. They're young, right? Like, you got some talent back there, but you are going to have some games where they struggle ultimately. But looking at the Eagles, the offense was the calling card, and AJ is a little different than Rashee Rice for my money. You can argue AJ is the best wide receiver in the NFL, man. Like, I don't care what people say. Justin Jefferson, he produces at like an unreal level, so maybe not the best wide receiver, but he's in that top 3 of just difference makers at that position, man. And I think that is the key when you look across the first part of this season, man. No AJ Brown in 2 or 3 games mixed in there.
3.
Was it 3? It was 3. It was Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. Yeah. So you look at those 3 games and you think about what the Eagles look like offensively.
Right.
And it starts to make a little bit more sense.
Dude, but then it just the shit just continued to pile. It's him. Yes, he's the core of it.
Yeah.
He's the base of it all. But then you lose Smitty, and then you lose Lane, and then now you've lost Jordan, and you've lost Dallas, and people on defense were getting injured, and it's just been a whole shitstorm of injuries. Thank God none of them seemed like too long sustaining, no season-ending injuries or months missed at a time now. Yeah. But they haven't been healthy, and when they've been their most healthy, they're an undefeated football team with an offense scoring almost 28 points a game. So it's confusing. All the criticism is warranted. It's been ugly. They look unprepared. They are the only, I can't say that enough, the only team. Yeah. We are talking about this Giants team, the Panthers, all these other bad teams, the Browns. They all have scored in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds, what's it matter? They're winning games. Because it's a lack of being prepared. It's the script. Why can't the offense move the ball based off of the game plan? Based off of the first
set the momentum from the jump of the game, man. Why? It's weird. Yeah. It's weird. And it's gonna continue to be a thing until it's not, right? Like, if it happens again, it's gonna be what we talk about next week.
I do want to go back to your comment about Jalen being ultra conservative with the football. And yes, it's obviously great that he hasn't turned it over the last 2 weeks. But something that Darius was talking about, and I think TR said it as well, is we watched how many times he held on to the ball for too long yesterday and run backwards and not move the pocket with an intention of throwing, moving the pocket with just an intention of getting away and taking all those sacks. Do you think at some point, is it going to bite him? Is it going to bite them?
In the moment, man, a couple of those sacks, he got sacked 4 times yesterday. A couple of those, 2 specifically, the one where he just sat down, that one blew the shit out of me. But that was in the pocket. He didn't even leave the pocket on that one. I think they're frustrating as hell in the moment, but is it as frustrating as an interception?
Correct. Yeah, that's true.
So that's what I have to look at. But
to Martian's point, right? You are right. There is a worse side to it. But it's the sacks combined with the missing receivers. And Martian had commented earlier saying, it's okay that Jalen missed Smitty on 3rd and 3 because they scored the touchdown on 4th and 3. Well, what if they don't score the touchdown?
Yeah.
What if the defender somehow gets a hand on the ball and it's a turnover on downs? And now what are we looking at? We're looking at Devontae Smith missed wide open on 3rd and 3. Now, again, you can play devil's advocate with everything. Monday morning quarterback, everything. But it's just something to keep an eye on, man.
No, it is something to keep an eye on. But right. I think I would ultimately, bro. It's kind of what we've been asking for from the beginning of the season. I'll take a conservative Jalen over hero ball Jalen all day with the talent that we have on the team.
You're right. You're right.
Don't need hero ball Jalen.
Yeah, it's too much. But I think I think this is
lead the talks of deficiencies of his as a quarterback for sure. And I think when, like Darius's comment earlier about the Chiefs and like Patrick Mahomes not having Rashee Rice and Pacheco, well, that's what I was talking about against Tampa Bay.
Right.
He's not in that group of quarterbacks that is he's not in the Patrick Mahomes. Like nobody really.
He's not right. He's not
in that Josh Allen.
Take you and me off the practice squad and elevate.
He needs his guys, and that's okay.
Yeah,
you can still be a top 10 quarterback and need your guys. Like that's fine. But I think that's just something we'll like you said, we'll have to keep an eye on it. I think that's something to keep an eye on. I think
that's what this team. I think that's what this team's identity is, and I just hope that they do it consistently.
Can he find that fine line between like game manager, and elite quarter, like just that fine line, like of not overdoing it? That's kind of what we're asking for.
Let me look at last night's Sunday Night Football game, and I'll compare it to this a little bit. By the way, something we're going to talk about on Turf Talk. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So two sides to that coin, right? So much for Devontae Adams coming and saving the season, and secondly, so much for Mike Tomlin looking like an idiot for benching Justify. I mean, okay, well, maybe they have a little something there. But I just want to – I bring that up because I'm thinking just about the way he operates. And at this point with their – like, I don't know. Their build, their mobility. I know he's older. Jalen's a lot younger. But it's like I just feel like they play a similar style of football, or they can at least. Yeah, and I go and I look at last night's game.
Kind of agree. Yeah.
And hold on, I'm just trying to pull it up so I don't get the numbers wrong. I mean, 16 of 29, 264, no turnovers, 2 touchdowns. And what I mean by play the same style, man, they turn around, they run the ball 33 times to their running backs. And they're using screens, they're using checkdowns. They're getting their star involved in George Pickens, if you want to call him a star. And then every once in a while, Russ hits a big play down the field with his arm. That's what I'm talking. That's what you're talking. That line of just getting the ball to your guys and having the ability to make a game-altering play. That's what I think he can do. I think it's what he did yesterday, Scott. That throw to AJ, those types of throws, 2 to 3 times sprinkled throughout a game is all I need. It has to do with him, and it also starts with Sirianni and Kellen Moore. 2 weeks ago against the Browns, I don't need you to hunt a go route to AJ Brown 5 plays in a row to start a game. Get AJ a slant, get Saquon a screen, get Smitty a mesh route, get something quick, manage, move the ball, and take that shot down the field when it's there. That's it. That's what I need.
This is that other side, though, man. It's what we talked about after that Seahawks game last year, where it's like, he's out there somewhere. AJ's got me. You know what I mean? And it's like, is that what it is? But that is a dime. I mean, that throw is
in most scenarios, yes. Yesterday, I think it was a little bit more Jay. Like you said, not only was it a dime. First, I want to throw this out there as well.
The one against Cleveland was a dime as well for AJ.
Yeah. Oh, to end the game for sure.
Yeah.
I want to throw this out there as well, though. Did you see that fire from Jalen Hurts after he threw that touchdown pass?
Yeah, man.
I have never fucking and I want to know what it was a good thing. I'm not saying I want to know who that was directed towards. I'm saying like
got the swag
at
bag.
The sideline. Was he going with Nick? Was he going with who was it? Because that was obviously very specifically watch what I'm about to do. Dropped it in a bucket and went, yeah, motherfucker. And I've never seen Jalen on the field, helmet on, fired up that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly, I love the emotion that I've been seeing from Jalen this year.
I've asked for
Takes me back to the spike against Atlanta, right? After the long run for a first down.
Yeah,
you see it here and there, but when you start to see that out of Jalen, what that tells me is that they're having fun playing football again.
Yeah.
You see AJ Brown rolling around in the end zone after I think it was one of Jalen's touchdowns on the push.
Yeah.
Like they're just having fun, bro.
Yeah.
Like you see them in the locker room.
Did
They're
you see
taking
AJ's
pictures.
face when he caught the touchdown and was like running horizontally through the end zone?
Yeah.
He's like sticking his tongue out, laughing
Yeah.
at the fans in New York.
Yeah, bro.
I do agree, man.
They're having fun, man. Even like, you see Nick and Saquon sitting on the bench at the end of the game, and apparently that's when he's talking to Saquon. Like, do you want to go back out there and get your career high? Like, just great vibes. Great vibes. You see it after the game. You get the aura. That's what these young kids call it. The aura is back for the Birds.
And look, speaking of having fun, man, because this was a big time game for Saquon and for, just going back there. I do want to just go back and restate something because, like, we talk Jalen, we talk defense, we talk Nick, we talk AJ. The story of this game going into it and after it is Saquon fucking Barkley. And that has been the story of the game for 4 out of the 6 games that they've played this year. This dude is a monster. I just want to reiterate this. When I say the Eagles' identity is running the football, and it's been that way for the past couple of years, and they've managed to just throw different running backs in the carousel, and it's been true. But when I say it now, I'm not just saying to run the football. Your identity is to get 2-6 the fucking ball. That's what I'm trying to say. Like we didn't do Saquon Barkley justice in the first 35 minutes of the show. This dude is an animal.
Yeah.
We know that, like, we've known that before this game. We didn't need this game to solidify anything for us, but absolute animal. I don't think I've ever watched a running back run harder than he did yesterday. And obviously we know there was a lot of juice heading into this game and a lot of emotion for him, but my God, he didn't go out of bounds once. He didn't go down. Like, he lowered his shoulder and moved those legs every time he touched the ball. He punished every dude that put a helmet on him yesterday, and he went off. This dude.
Dude hates positivity.
Scotty, no. Wait till we talk Sixers Wednesday, and he wants to talk Eagles at some point in the show.
Yeah, it's always fun.
Yes, this is their identity. You turn around, you run the ball to him 18 to 20 plus times a game, get him 2 or 3 catches out of the backfield, so he's touching the ball 20 plus times guaranteed, and then you're getting the ball to AJ Brown. I know that's underselling Devontae Smith. I know if Goddard's healthy, that's another weapon. It is very simple to me. 11 and 26. That's your fucking identity. So all show long, run the ball. Yeah, it's run the ball. It's run the ball to 2-6.
Yeah.
There we go. I like it. I think he did it in Iowa, right? I believe.
Yeah, I think from time to time. He played a lot of snaps on defense. I don't think he did it all the time.
We're about to move on, Martian.
He's a playmaker.
Well,
no, that's actually what I was going to ask you. Outside of the Saquons, the AJs yesterday, even the Hurts, like who else would you say like your top 3 most impressed with yesterday? Like just off the top of your head.
So yeah, I mean AJ and Saquon were the stories on offense, and Jalen played a clean game, threw a couple dimes. But it all has to be defensively. And I know you're playing against a beat-up line. I know you're playing against Daniel Jones. You're playing against an offense that I think only has 1 touchdown at home this year. Like, they're really bad, especially at home. So, I like, it's not too much of a feat. But there was just a lot of guys on defense, man. And the beautiful thing about this game is I feel like most of the stars on defense have been in the secondary. We talked about Quinyon Mitchell. We talked about Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, game-ending interceptions. You can't say Darius Slay did have a good game yesterday, but it starts up front for him yesterday. Obviously, 8 sacks, but just a lot of things that I liked, man. You talk about Jalen Carter. You talk about Nolan Smith. Nolan Smith the last 2 weeks has been really good. You talked about the sack against Deshaun Watson, let out some emotion, came back. Did he have 2 sacks this week or just 1?
Yeah, he had 2.
He had 1 sack, two tackles for loss this week. Jalen Carter had 2 sacks.
My bad. I was looking at Nakobe Dean. Yeah,
Nakobe Dean's the one I wanted to get to as well, man. Yeah. And it has to do with Nakobe Dean, but it has to do with Vic Fangio too, and that scheme that Hunter hates. And I'm not a fan of it either, man. But he's doing some little things throughout the course of the game. He blitzed Nakobe Dean late a couple different times, And his 2 sacks came off of him shooting a gap and immediately. Like Daniel Jones couldn't even turn around by the time that Kobe Dean was there. He also, I believe, killed a guy in the backfield.
Yeah.
I could be forgetting if that was the Kobe Dean or not, but absolutely
Tracy
leveled somebody in the backfield.
Yeah.
Bryce Huff obviously gets his hand in the ground. Josh Sweat had a sack. The whole front, Cooper DeJean was really good. Slay was good. Quinyon was good. The whole defense was great. But seeing some of these guys that had been a little bit quiet finally come to life, no matter the competition. No, it doesn't, like, we can't talk about that. We can only talk about what they did. And they played really, really well yesterday.
The only complaint, as we were going through that, talking about the defense, the only complaint that I'll throw out there on the defense from yesterday is just, once again, no turnovers. Gotta find ways to turn the ball over, put your offense.
I got a question, man. When's Q hitting the jugs machine?
Brother, that's a great ass point.
I know it's tough. If you're not a wide receiver, it is such a difficult play to make. It's like, it was basically like him running the go route, looking like over the shoulder.
And you don't expect the ball to fall right in your.
Yes. So I get it, but I mean, it's not the first one. Like he's got about 4 now this year that have hit him right in the midst. So he's got to get his first.
I will say, on that play, we saw that. I don't know if it's an adjustment, if it's just what should have happened, like it should have against Cleveland, right? But CGJ was coming over.
Yeah.
And he didn't, go into Q's space. And I think that's the adjustment, man. Just being on the same page. Q just couldn't finish it this time. So
he's gonna get one too, man.
No, Kobe Dean, I think, has to be up there. Obviously the 2 sacks, 2 tackles.
11 tackles, bro.
11 tackles. I mean, just all over the field. Zach Bond is another dude that is just like everywhere. Like 2 pretty good linebackers right now that are playing pretty well. I know Kobe Dean had a rough week last week, but bounces back. Cooper DeJean is just like a breath of fresh air as well, just because even if he's not making a big play, you don't notice him. That's the better part, right? It's when you don't even notice him. Darius Slay was great. Darius Slay is just such a funny dude. He's just like a goofy ass dude, man. Like, sometimes he gets on my nerve, but like watching him like yesterday, even like limping around, and then he does his finger wag. It's just like, so like, he was just a goofy dude, but played really well yesterday, opposite of Q. Loved what I saw from him. Bryce Huff, man, finally gets a fucking sack. Can it spark something? Can we get like a 3-week streak of sacks from Bryce Huff or something to get him really in the mix here? But it does seem like they figured something out with the 4-point stance. And you have to ask yourself what took so long when it comes to that.
And we do have to be a little bit fair. Yes, he got paid a lot of money at this level to come do a job, and he's been very bad at it for 90% of his Eagles' short tenure so far. But it also is on coaches to put their guys in the best possible positions to succeed, give them advantages. And if your guy comes to you and says, I am most comfortable here doing this, it's where I succeed the most, you got to listen. Like it would then be on Vic Fangio if he just continued to line up Bryce Huff on the end of the line straight up and try and just say, well, he's not doing his job.
Yeah.
Well, he got his hand in the dirt yesterday. He got his first sack as an Eagle. He was more active. He looked a little faster, had more burst off the line of scrimmage. So now continue to see what you can do with that, bro. But nonetheless, it was a very, very good win. And it's just the building block. Last week was the base. It was ugly, but it got you back in the win column. You got fully healthy, whatever. This week, a lot better. More efficient on offense, clean game again. Defense played really well again. Now you just have to continue to move on in the right direction.
Jordan Davis, I did not see him at all yesterday. Maybe that's not a bad thing either, though. Did want to comment on this. Nakobe led them in tackles, but he did not have a good game. And sometimes having the most tackles does not mean you've had a great game.
He was trailing often in cover. Like that's the thing. We know he can't cover, so that it's not really his fault. Like he just look at him. If you put Nakobe Dean in this room right now, would you look at him and go, he could cover a tight end or a slot receiver? No.
And Why has he not been used to blitz in these A games? Like, why is this the first we're seeing it? Maybe it's the first it's actually been impactful.
Yes, we can go back and ask why, or we can say, you know what, Vic, continue to do this job and continue to get it.
Continue to build because it's still early on in the season and we're trying to build a contender. We weren't born a contender, right? So I think that's what we are realizing, man. We expected them to come out this season like maybe almost just being perfect after what we saw last year, right? Like we didn't want to see turnovers. We don't want to see, missed opportunities in the red zone, 4th and 1s missed or 4th and 3s missed, bad play calling. But it's taken a few weeks. Now you just build. We keep it moving, man. Move on to the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk some Sixers, dog. I know.
Yeah, let's do it.
The people in the comments want it. Let's give it to them.
Let's do it because I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this, and I do want to look at these comments from Marshall real quick. Kevin Garnett, I'm assuming on his pod, 82 games, man. That's what the fucking job calls for. You're not practicing. You're not even playing the whole summer. I don't want to hear that shit, man. I don't want to hear none of that shit. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So
nobody fucking asked. How about that?
So, not only that, man. Not only that. Does he talk about Kawhi Leonard? Or does he talk about LeBron James load management? Because if we want to talk about load management, LeBron James hasn't played over 71 games since the 2017-18 season. And I know it's like, what are you going to say? Well, LeBron's going 40 years old. It's impressive enough. Okay. And this dude is a 7'1", 290-pound, knee injury-prone center. Like, yeah, one guy's older. He needs his rest. One guy literally should not be playing every night on back-to-backs.
And it's not even facts. Like, he did play this summer. Like, he won gold with Team USA.
Right. He's
like,
probably talking about, like, from an NBA perspective for his team and getting ready.
I get it.
But it's just like, I just want to know, man, like, do you, like, everyone loves, I don't know why Joel Embiid has become this polarizing figure nationally across every other fan base. It's not just the Celtics. It's not just the Knicks. It's not just the Heat. It's the Nuggets. It's everybody. Everybody loves to hate Joel Embiid. And now you have former players making comments. And that's my question, man. Do you talk about Kawhi Leonard's injury issues and load management when he actually does play? Do you talk about LeBron James' load management? Do you talk about Steph Curry's load management? Do you talk about Jimmy Butler's load management? No, you're going to pick on the dude who actually fucking needs the load management. Out of all those guys I just listed, who do you think needs nights off so that his knees don't fucking give out? The 7', 290 guy. That's probably who needs a little bit more rest, bud. Holy shit. It's really not. It's not that difficult to figure out. Like, how do you not talk about anybody else? You're only talking about
it's like this, it's like the world now, man. You look around and it's like these old people, they just want you to like do it the hard way and like do everything early and like hard work and blue collar. And it's like, no, I can just actually do this a lot easier. We have technology more advanced that we can figure out how to get this done a lot easier. This is the same thing, man. They're just mad because they felt like they had to play 82 games when they played. The simple truth is there is absolutely no point in Joel Embiid playing back-to-backs in the NBA. There's 0 point to it. You're not ever going to play a back-to-back in the NBA postseason. It's only there to create injuries. What are back-to-backs there for? Just to cram 82 games in? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
What are they there for?
Would you like to know how many games Kevin Garnett played from 2007 and on? From when he got to the Celtics and they won a chip and then on?
Talk to me.
Kevin Garnett played in 71, 57, 69, 71, 60, 68, 54, 42, 5, and 38 to end his career. So, Kevin, 82 games, brother. That's what the job calls for.
So it would be better if he just like faked an injury rather and didn't just come out front and say that.
Like that pisses me off so much. He's just this target.
This is fair too. What Gant just said.
Yeah.
No, I did not see that segment from Kevin Garnett. It doesn't surprise me him being a former Celtic. I'm sure that like feeds into it too, right? Pandering to them, but
Yeah,
mind
grown
your own
ass man
fucking
wearing
business,
skinny
dude.
jeans.
Yeah, mind your own fucking business, man. Like, let's be honest, dog. Like Kevin Garnett versus Joel Embiid, what would happen?
Yeah,
And I'm talking KG. I'm talking like Kevin
yeah,
Garnett.
yeah. One of the best power forwards ever.
Kevin Garnett champions
Yeah.
against Joel Embiid,
You know what we
healthy.
call that, Scotty? Dog food.
Yeah, like come on,
Dog
dude.
food.
How about you just sit this one out, KG? If you don't have nothing nice to say, keep
Right.
your mouth shut, dog.
Right. Exactly.
He does. He
And
just
here's
talks
the
shit.
other
He's
thing.
kind of like Gilbert Arenas, man. Like I don't like any of those guys that
Yep.
do that stuff.
Yep.
Just talk shit constantly.
Yep.
They don't play basketball anymore.
Jeff Teague's podcast was just doing it too, and I think Jeff Teague's funny as shit. I think that podcast is really funny.
It's funny. He's funny.
But
and
they
it's
brought
different
up
from him because he
first
wasn't
of all,
a
I was
superstar.
going to send this to you, but I was like, it's not even worth my time or tweeting it out because they got it wrong too. One of his co-hosts, one of his boys, it was about the Joel comments and the plan that he's not going to play back to back. But they said it was after the Paul George injury that they brought it up, and they said that Paul said he's not playing back to backs either, and maybe he won't, but that has not been stated. Correct? I didn't miss anything.
Wouldn't be mad if he doesn't.
No,
I did
won't
not
be
see
mad
that
if he
anywhere.
doesn't.
I did not see that
I'm
anywhere.
completely fine with it. What I'm saying is that hasn't been said. It's only been the Joel plan.
Yeah.
So they came out and said that Joel and Paul George won't play back-to-backs, and then they all started freaking out. And then I think Jeff Teague said we're not top 4 in the East anyway, so it doesn't matter. And I was like, all right, well, that's all right. We'll find out.
Not top 4 in the East. That is interesting, man.
Yeah, we'll certainly find out, man. But let's talk. I know we got to get out of here very shortly. I know you wanted a hard cut at 11.
Oh, we're good. We're good.
Just a few minutes here before we wrap up. Wednesday show is going to be heavy Sixers focused, and season predictions and preview all around. But the preseason is finally over, man. Tyrese Maxey just had to slip his way into like the little injury conversation.
Injury report.
Gets a hand injury. And then obviously plays like what did he play in the last game? 5 minutes, and then he got hit on that hand, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that what happened? Yeah, and then they were like, all right, well, you know what? You come have a seat too.
You go sit down, my man. Preseason just looks completely.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do? A live watch party? I'm assuming. Because you live in Canada, I think.
I would be down for that.
Let's watch the Tobias game.
Hell no. Watch you get some Pistons. That would be funny as hell to watch, but it would probably get boring, man. We need to watch I was
looking at tickets to that Pistons game, and you can get tickets up top for like $11, and you can sit first. You can sit first level for like $42. Well, you got to get your ass. You got to get your ass in the country, then, brother.
We can go up to Toronto. Probably not.
Yeah, we're staying at Martian's Airbnb for the weekend.
That would be a good reason to go to Toronto. I mean, I don't know, man. What are you talking about? Like in person? Like I would definitely be down.
I think he's talking about coming to Philadelphia. So
we got to pick a good game though. No Pistons game.
If you set it up to where you get to Philly and you have a stay in Philly, we will make sure to get to. Yeah. We will make sure to get to a game.
Toronto on his bucket list.
Never been to Canada, man. But
no, man, me either. Honestly,
preseason officially over, Scotty. All I can say is thank God. Paul George went on his podcast and discussed his injury, and I was talking to you about it before the show. I don't know what to make of it. Obviously, it's good news. The bone bruise is good news. No structural damage, no ligament damage, no tendon damage. It's all good. He's going to be okay. He's going to play basketball, and much sooner rather than later for the 76ers, so we'll get that shiny new toy shortly. He did, however, throw in there that the timetable, he's going to be evaluated on Tuesday by the docs, and the timetable shouldn't be too long. That tells me he's not playing in the opener. And not only that, I'd be surprised. If I had to guess, I'm going to say Paul George misses like the first 4-ish games of this season. I believe by the time opening night hits on Wednesday, it'll be 9 days since the injury. You're talking a little under a week and a half. Add in 3, 4, or 5 games, 2 to 3 weeks total, and then I think he'll be back. But yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know. Yeah. So let's
I can't. With Paul George, it's like just take your time. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no rush to this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a serious injury. If it's not serious, then just take your time with it. We'll get you back in 2 weeks, maybe.
Right. Because like I said, it's a patience thing. It's a thing with the fan base, right? Because we're gonna look back if he's healthy in March, and when him and Joel are healthy playing together, we're gonna look back and go, dude, remember when we were pissed he didn't play the first 3 games of the season? But right now it just sucks. But
it's just
10-man rotation, fully healthy. We're saying this is assuming everybody's going. You have Tyrese, Joel, PG, Kelly's 4. Caleb Martin's 5, 6 if he starts or not, but that's 5, right?
Yeah.
Andre Drummond 6, Kyle Lowry 7, Eric Gordon 8. I don't know where else to go from here. I would say so. Gint thinks Reggie and EG are locks. I think Reggie Jackson can hoop. They're so crowded, man. They're so crowded. Yabusele I would think so. Yabu, Lowry, Drum, and Gordon off the bench. I don't know. I agree.
I don't know.
Are we sure he's sticking to 10?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking here when I see Gint say the no-brainers for like Reggie and EG specifically, right? And I just think there will be some nights where McCain might get picked over Reggie, vice versa. Like Reggie might get picked over McCain. Like it just depends on matchups and like who has a hot hand in the most recent games, different things like that. Because McCain's obviously going to have to earn his spot. These are veterans that are ahead of him.
Right. And now you got the injury he's got to recover from. So it's a little time off that he's got to get reacclimated with. So
I think
it's very like Cooper DeJean like where it puts him a little bit behind the 8 ball. But at a certain point, you'll see him start to go. That's the thing, man. They legitimately have 13 guys. Obviously, that 13 guy I'm referring to would be a Ricky Council. I'm not saying that Ricky Council won't even play, but just if you slide him to the side before the season started, I would have told you Ricky Council and KJ Martin wouldn't play for me. KJ Martin had a very, very good preseason, man. And it's not that he just stood out. It's he has a position somewhat of need for this team, which is that backup 4 spot. He's athletic and he looks good with Maxey he had somewhat of like a connection with Tyrese. So it's like he could see time. Yabusele, who's that other backup 4 type of guy, could possibly go small ball 5. Not recommending it, but matchup based against other teams, what they're doing. He would see the lineup. You get to the backup guard spot. See, the backup guard spot is the messiest to me because I like all 3 to 4 guys. Kyle Lowry, Reggie Jackson, Jared McCain, and Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon's obviously a little different because he's not a guy that's going to handle the rock for you. Like the other 3 are point guards to me. They could play off ball. I'm not saying they can't play the 2. I'm saying that like they are your backup ball handlers. Eric Gordon's a sharpshooter. So he probably has more of a role carved out to start at least. Obviously, I know McCain's a sharpshooter. I know that the other 2 can drill threes. I'm just saying they do things a little differently from each other. So it's tough, man.
It's interesting. Yeah. And, as we talk through it, it just almost makes you think like maybe it does make more sense for Oubre or Martin to come off the bench so that you get one of those guards in the starting lineup. But it just depends.
I think
man.
if I had to guess, I think EG starts. I think Caleb comes off the bench. I think he showed his plans at the end of the preseason.
For example, against the Celtics, I feel like I don't know. I'm trying to think through it here. I know what you're saying.
Oubre,
Martin And like if you have Paul George, I think that's the like matchup wise, that's the time where you start all three of those guys together.
Yeah,
Am I tripping
I
on
agree.
that?
When you're talking about the wings and the length that have given us fits in the past,
Yeah.
you have an extra body, especially Caleb Martin, who's familiar with them and can line up with them. Yeah, it's definitely not the wrong opinion.
I wonder if he'll have like a solidified
Yeah,
starting lineup or if it's just going to be kind
correct.
of fluid.
I want to throw this out there. Hold on, let me answer
Yeah.
Gint's question real quick. I don't think from a talent perspective, but I think from a Nick Nurse familiarity, obviously here last year, playing 35 plus minutes in the playoffs for them. I just think I think he'll definitely initially get more run.
Yeah.
But again, Kyle's going to be another guy that I promise you he's going to get load managed this year. Like at this age, I promise you Kyle Lowry is going to get nights off where he is
And
ruled out, etc.
I did see a lot of people talking about, his plans after retirement to become a coach and like maybe even join Nick Nurse's staff, something like that. So maybe he reverts more into like a coach off the bench type of role, right? Like where he comes in, he's just there to organize the offense, give you some energy off the bench. But that's a great question though from Gint, honestly. I think it is what you said though. It's him being Nick Nurse's guy versus those guys maybe not yet, right? But I think
I do.
Reggie has a little bit more juice left in him than Lowry, and I think Eric Gordon
Reggie,
does
yeah,
too, man. Yeah.
dude. Eric Gordon lets it fly,
Deep,
and he's knocked down from 35 feet away. Yes.
Deep range.
And again, when you're talking about playing alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, yes, all of them can shoot the three ball well. Like, yes, Kyle Lowry and Reggie Jackson can play with Joel Embiid. But Eric Gordon can really play with Joel Embiid, if that makes sense.
He's never had somebody who shoots from that deep. And I know
I love
not necessary, but it does help.
Brought this up because I wanted to ask you this. I know we've talked about all the new pieces all offseason long. I don't want to ask you who's the biggest because obviously you got the star, you got Paul George. If we had Paul George instead of Tobias Harris, you probably beat the New York Knicks last year, or you definitely beat the New York Knicks last year.
Yeah.
Caleb Martin is a guy we just haven't had that from the Miami Heat, two-way guy, 3-and-D, athletic, etc. He's a guy we haven't had. You're talking about Eric Gordon here, huge in the postseason if he can knock down that shot. My mind goes to Andre Drummond because you brought up the Celtics. And yes, you have to find a way to combat what the Celtics do. But you're not going to beat the Celtics straight up. What you are going to have to do is find weaknesses a team like Boston has and try to exploit within the margins. What's one thing Boston had struggled with last year and you can get by them? Size. A big center. We already know they can't guard Joel. Al Horford in 2019 could give Joel Embiid problems. Al Horford's not giving Joel Embiid problems anymore. But then, Scotty, when you have Joel, especially an injury-riddled Joel, out-of-shape Joel can't be on the floor all the time. So when we moved on from Joel I'm talking about in the rotation, who came in? An undersized center. Well, now who do you have? Like there's no time off for a team like the Celtics with Andre Drummond backing up Joel Embiid. There is a 7-footer, a guy that's going to control the lane, a guy that's going to control the glass in there at all times. Drummond can at least get to the rim and finish a little bit at the rim. Yes, he cannot get played out of the rotation, and I don't think he will. You brought up, I think like people were tweeting about his career postseason numbers and how bad he is. Yeah, assholes. In a starting role where he's forced to play 30, 35 plus minutes a night. That's not the case now. So I look at Andre Drummond and I think about what we struggled with against the Knicks. I think about a way you can exploit the Celtics. I think a way you can exploit the Bucks. I look at it all and I go, that is such a difference-making piece. And I know we got a glimpse of it. Obviously couldn't see it through because he got moved for the trade. And at the time, no, I obviously was not concerned about that at the time when you trade for James Harden. Not going to worry about the backup center. Yeah. Clearly, it's a thing of need for this team. So I think my question to you is like, who's not the biggest new piece, but who's a guy within the margins that you think is like the biggest in that role, in their role, I guess you could say.
Drummond's definitely up there. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think each of these guys, like I'm looking
Yeah.
at Eric Gordon, I'm
I mean,
looking at Reggie
obviously, it's like
Jackson.
time. Let's just throw this out there. Obviously, Paul George is the big name,
Yeah,
and the reason I bring up Paul George isn't to state the obvious, but it is to state that this is the time. Obviously, we're talking. He signed a 4-year deal. Joel just got um uh extended. Maxi extended it. Like, this is the core. If you do not win one over the next 4 years, Joel Embiid is retired. Like, that's it, first of all. Second of all, you've missed on every third star you've tried to bring in. They've
yeah,
rotated in third stars. They've rotated in head coaches, etc. You have to nail this Paul George signing, and Paul George has to nail his role here, which is being that third guy within these two stars of Maxi and Embiid. So that's
yeah,
going to be something, because you failed, man. You have failed searching for that other guy.
yeah.
This has to be the piece.
And I think, my mind went to Caleb Martin, to be clear, when you first asked the question. And I thought you meant like, outside of Caleb Martin and PG, but Caleb Martin was my like
I
next
do in a
answer.
yeah.
But yeah, if you mean outside of that,
No,
I
no,
would
no.
probably
I
have
would
to
include. I would
agree
say
with
outside of
Caleb Martin.
PG. You can include Caleb Martin, because I don't
Okay,
think Caleb.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So Caleb Martin is where my mind went to immediately, just because not only is he a wing, which we
Mhm.
know how much we've struggled over years, especially since Joel's been here, with wing players and competent wing
Yeah.
players, right? Guys that can play on both ends. That's the thing. He comes in, he's going to be a Swiss Army knife. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, a lot of clips on Twitter from preseason of him driving in the lane, kicking out. He plays smart basketball. You can tell he was coached by Eric Spoelstra to start his career in the NBA, man. And obviously, Nick Nurse isn't too much of a step down from Eric Spoelstra at this point with what we know about Nurse. So I think Nurse is just going to have so much fun plugging this guy wherever the hell he wants, because he can do a little bit of everything this year. And it's just something that we, once again, you talk about the backup center, something we've never had. You talk about Eric Gordon, like a deep
Well,
stretch
to be fair, we did
2.
have it. We just traded it.
Yeah, exactly. We had it for half a season. So you get Drummond, you have a great
Yeah.
like backup center with size. You get Eric Gordon, you have your floor spacer that has extended range, which does make a difference. It doesn't get talked about a lot, but extended range does help out a lot, especially with a team with Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey,
Yes.
who need space to operate. You go to Caleb Martin. He's this like gritty, tough player. He's like
Yep.
PJ Tucker, but actually younger and like good at basketball.
Right.
Like he has
Right.
that same type of mentality. It feels like that hard work, grind it out,
Mhm.
kind of quieter in a sense as well, right? But he's in the prime of his career right now. He's in the pinnacle of his career. This is as good as Caleb Martin is
Yeah.
going to be, and you get him along with Paul George, man. But Caleb Martin is where my mind goes to, because I think he's going to do all of the little intricate
I
things,
agree.
the details, the
And
defense,
whatever his
being in
role
the
is,
right
right?
spot.
It can be in the starting rotation, and it can also be coming
Yeah,
off the bench.
he
I don't
doesn't
like.
need 10 shots
Yeah.
a night.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem for him. Like, I like with some other guys, if
Yeah,
the plan was, because remember when we first signed him, it was, oh, the plan is he's your starting power forward, and there could be other guys in the league and out there that if towards the end of preseason their coach went, we're going to start Kelly and you're going to come off the bench. I don't
I'd
think
be
that
cool with
is
that.
an even
Yeah,
1% chance of being an issue, man. Let me tell you, we're going through it, and again, this is nothing new. We've visualized all of these new pieces and the regular season for months now, going back to the beginning of July. But let me tell you why I'm so excited in this team, and why I think this team is actually going to contend for a title this year. You go back to last year and how it ended, and I know it ended in the first round, not even the fucking second round. And I know we lost in 6. It didn't even go 7. But you give me Tyrese Maxey, who we're not even like talking about getting better. We're just talking about that Tyrese Maxey. We're talking about not Joel Embiid being in better shape and maybe being healthier and load managed better. We're talking about that Joel Embiid with Bell's palsy in one side of his face and torn ligaments in his knee. If you give me those two versions of those two players last year, and you give me almost any one of these new pieces we're talking about, I believe you beat the New York Knicks.
yeah.
If you give me Paul George, you beat the New York Knicks. I could tell you that for nothing. Scotty, if you give me Caleb Martin instead of Tobias Harris, you have a better chance of beating the Knicks. If you give me Andre Drummond instead of Paul Reed with all the rebounding struggles we had, especially when Joel was off the floor last year, we have a better chance of beating the New York Knicks. That's one piece each. Daryl Morey, we know this, has constructed the deepest and maybe the most talented roster in the Eastern Conference. I'm not putting them ahead of the Celtics. But when you talk names, and I know this sounds stupid, trust me, this can get clipped by anybody and Celtics fans can come for me. I don't know why I don't care for Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard and Luke Cornett. And I know they won over 60 games. I know they ran through the NBA playoffs. Like, it's there. But when if you're talking Andre Drummond, Caleb Martin, Eric Gordon, Kyle Lowry, Reggie Jackson, Jared McCain coming off the bench versus Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, and Peyton Pritchard. Do you know what I'm like? It sounds stupid on the surface.
I know what you mean. But the Celtics have an identity, and they stick to it. They know who they are, and that's what they're about. So, like, a team, like a bench pieces with an identity are stronger than a bunch of guys thrown together. You know what I mean? So we just have to see it. We have to see what the Sixers establish themselves as. Like, are they going to be this team that guns three-pointers? They get a ton of three-pointers every night up, like the Celtics. Like, everything outside of Joel is going to be focused around the three-point line. Maybe that's an idea. I don't know if Nick Nurse will go that far, right? Yeah. But it's interesting to think about, like, what is going to be the identity of this team? Obviously, outside of, like, Joel Embiid. Like, if Joel Embiid is not playing on a night, do they play at a higher tempo with guys like Maxey and Oubre and Martin and getting out in space and getting on the fast break, defensive pressure, like when Joel's out? It's going to be interesting to see how they play. And I do agree with TR on Maxey. Yeah, I think it's going to be insane as well. I'm looking at all NBA second team. I mean, I obviously have my blinders on with Maxey sometimes, but I do think there's a world where he could be in MVP conversations, man. I'm not even joking. I don't think it's like out of this world. I think he's the guy out of Embiid and Paul George. Maxey's the guy that's going to be there for most of the games.
Yeah. I think Maxey's going to be involved in MVP conversations nationally? No, I don't. Because I think people are going to look at just the team and they're going to talk about he's not the best player on his team, Do I think Tyrese Maxey?
Any Celtic is in the conversation.
I agree. I'm just telling
the numbers are there. You know what I mean?
Nationally, they're going to say,
like, I don't want to see Brunson in MVP combos either.
Right.
Right.
I agree with you. But Tyrese Maxey's going to give you MVP numbers. He's going to give you MVP level production. That I can promise.
Yeah.
He gave it to you last year. Like you talked to. I mean, if Brunson's in the conversation last year, Maxey's in the conversation last year. He won't be. Because I'm telling you right now, they're not going to. They're just unless he averages fucking 31 a game and 7 assists, and Joel only plays 49 games. It's something crazy. Then but if Joel's playing over 50 games and Maxey's averaging 28, 27, they won't do it. But
no, that's fair.
Nonetheless, it's MVP like production. And dude, first of all, we have to see it in the regular season and how it meshes, and maybe everything's okay.
Looks disgusting.
But I mean, could you imagine if he came here and did that? Like, if we traded all those first rounders, because obviously we wanted to. Like, if we would have gotten
why is he doing it?
Like, I don't know, dude.
Why do this in the middle of your career?
I have no idea what happened to him.
He's been a solid shooter throughout his career, man. Like, make adjustments, not change the whole fucking thing. Yeah. I wanted to ask you this as just kind of a last. I don't know if you have any more questions about.
No, we can get it. We could save the predictions and stuff for Wednesday's show. But
looking at it from the other side of the spectrum of what we've experienced as Sixers fans over the last couple of years, throughout our lives, quite honestly, who do you think out of the additional pieces is the most likely to kind of like fall out of the rotation? Like, we kind of forget about them by the second half of the season. Who do you think, a guy that we have in the rotation right now that maybe you're least confident in solidifying their spot in the rotation?
The sad thing is, I have blind faith and confidence in everybody.
Everybody, right?
I do think, to TR's point, I do think Ricky is out of the rotation.
Yeah.
If there was like an outsider, it would be KJ Martin. Like if he does start to get run, I don't know if that's long sustaining with everybody else we have.
Yeah, like come postseason, will be gone.
Part of me says Eric Gordon. I'm not saying like that's going to happen. And I think I know we want to see McCain because the thought process is Gordon's age, maybe it's not looking great. And then McCain starts to ease into the rotation. And by February, March, April, he has kind of shunned Eric Gordon out of the spot. I think for the Sixers perspective, they need Eric Gordon to be good. I think nothing can be negative with a 40+% 3-point sniper on the outside.
Yeah.
But that's just where I would go. Like, or Reggie Jackson. The thing with Reggie Jackson is I have no idea what his role is right now.
Yeah.
I have no idea if Nick Nurse has him penciled into the rotation or he's on the outside looking in to start. He
seems very involved. Do you know what I mean? Like he's in a lot of social media, like for the Sixers account. Like he seems very involved, but sometimes that stuff can be misleading.
Maybe it's Kyle. Maybe the age and injuries are going to catch up to Kyle Lowry this year, and there's reason there's so much point guard depth for this team.
Yeah. And he could be better served once again as a coach that could help young guys on the bench. Like when you come
and I said this to you last year, man. I'm not saying there's no role for Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry played well for the Sixers in the postseason.
You're just making a
high
volume. That's all it is.
But less is more when it comes to Kyle Lowry at this point. Those little minutes, those little spurts of taking a charge and energy and knocking down a top of the key three for this team in clutch time, that's valuable Kyle Lowry. I don't need Kyle Lowry. I know he's not going to, but like last year with the injuries and all and the lack of depth, Kyle Lowry literally had to play over 30 minutes in the postseason. That's not what you're looking for with a team for championship aspirations. But the last thing I'll 30, man, regardless, I love how much experience these new pieces are going to bring. Championship level experience. Caleb Martin has played in an NBA Finals, and he was there in the bubble, correct?
Yeah.
He has played in Eastern Conference Finals. Reggie Jackson has a championship. Kyle Lowry has a championship. With Nick, your head coach, has a championship with that point guard. Paul George has been around stars.
He's been to the conference finals at least.
Eric Gordon has been around stars. There's just a level of, I want to say, like, just maturity to this group that can come in, and a guy like we talk about with Joel Embiid who has a roller coaster wave of emotions. Kyle Lowry helped with that last year. Maybe the rest do too this year. Right? You know what I mean? Maybe Andre Drummond keeps Joel competitive each and every day. Maybe Reggie Jackson or Caleb Martin is a little more vocal than we know and doesn't let Joel hit those lows that he hits sometimes.
Yeah.
So
it's the pedigree, man. The pedigree of the team. They had a specific guys they wanted to go out and get this offseason. And they got the majority of them. And I think that's the thing. Like in previous seasons, we've kind of taken the runt of the litter, if that makes sense. We get the other guy, right? Or we go and overspend and then it doesn't work out with a guy like PJ Tucker. That was just unlucky, right? Where we had the most money in an offseason where he was the most coveted free agent. It just doesn't ever work out like this. Even drafting Jared McCain from Duke, right? Like you get the pedigree once again from a big school like Duke. All over the team, man. It's marked all over the team. You got guys that know their roles, they know their places in the NBA. I think that's a huge part of it. Huge part of what makes me excited for this team to mesh together and play the correct style of basketball, man. Because you got a lot of guys who just want to win at this point in their careers, man. So it is going to be interesting. It's funny. Man. I was looking at Jeremy Kay. I did not know he was 6'3", man. He does not look 6'3" to me. It's like they haven't had the same height as Eric Gordon. I thought he was shorter than that. I thought he was. Like
I was just about to call this man out for not being here, and now he's here and he's changing up the conversation again. Pick a lane, brother. We're about to wrap up. I was literally just going to say, man, this is the second straight show Martian was asked for Sixers talk. We get into Sixers talk, and he leaves the convo. And now he comes back with Mitch Mania. This guy. I will say, to wrap up, I mean, I'm not saying they were wrong. I can't believe the Flyers got booed on their home opener, dude. I don't know if you saw that. They got shut out 3-0 against the Canucks. And yeah, they got booed pretty loudly. Pretty loudly.
Was it really? I didn't watch the game. Was it really bad? Like
I didn't see it either. I was scurrying out and about, but
like to boo.
Yeah. So, but again, I'm not saying they were. I didn't see the game. If it was lifeless, whatever. The only thing I'll say is, like, yes, we are hopeful that it's a fun season, but you have to keep in mind this team is literally committed to a rebuild. So can you boo the 5th game of the season because they're not playing up to what you were expecting? I don't know. I don't know. So maybe it was such a lifeless performance and they were turning the puck over at the blue line over and over and over again.
Are the Canucks a bad team? Is that like
no? The Canucks are like a top 10, 12 team in the league. Yeah. And we beat them in Vancouver to start the year. So it's like, I don't know. Again, I didn't see it. I wasn't there. I don't know how Philadelphia looked and what the issues were. Again, you're talking about a young team committed to a rebuild. Already beat this Canucks team once. I'm assuming Erson played, not Fedotov. Fedotov stinks. I'll throw that out there right now. That kid. Why is he expected to start tonight? See, this is what I don't get from Tortorella. So this is about to be the 6th game of the year. This is about to be Fedotov's 3rd start of the year. So he's just splitting reps. Dude, this kid, like even the other night, they only gave up 3 total goals. Or I'm sorry, Ersan, I'm looking at the back-to-back. Ersan is starting tomorrow.
Oh, he's starting tomorrow.
They have off. Yeah, they have off. And then Fedotov is expected in they play Washington in a home and away back-to-back.
Yeah,
so.
I see that. Okay.
All right. Whatever. My whole point is Fedotov literally stinks. The dude's got over a 6 goals against average. So we'll see.
Yeah. That Carter Hart situation didn't help much, did it?
Ersan Ilyasova. Yeah, dude.
Ersan Ilyasova. That's a name I haven't heard.
Ilya Brizgalov, brother.
That is interesting.
Right. With that said, that's going to wrap up the stream. Guys, as always, happy Victory Monday. Feels good to get back in the win column for a 2nd straight week, Scotty. Make sure to tap in on all social platforms. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We will be back Wednesday morning giving Sixers regular season projections and predictions. And we'll also have a Sixers pregame that night. There's the Sixers comment from him. He's back. We'll have a Sixers pregame that night for Sixers Bucks. Make sure to tap in, subscribe as always. For myself, for Scotty, have a great rest of your Monday.